Bros Play!
Hey, welcome back to general conversations and overly simplified predictions of society.
Yeah, well, I mean, why would you want to make predictions that are actually complicated and take in all of the factors?
Your host, Georgenstein.
Okay.
And this is my co-host,
John Johnson. I was just thinking about it. I was like, oh, you know what the silliest name I've ever heard is? But I was like, nope, John Ronson's an actual guy. So that's not going to work.
I like how you, that felt like a Letterkenny bit. Everybody in the room says the same stupid joke.
Well, it's like, I know where we're going. I just don't know how I'm getting there. I really shouldn't have driven in here.
There's a part on Letterkenny when the hockey players are teaching some other hockey players how to chirp. And he says, you pick a topic and you beat the shit out of it. And then I realized that's Letterkenny. Like, every episode is that. Like, they just absolutely demolish the idea or the joke.
They just run it into the ground, right?
Yeah. But in a funny way, and it gets way better. I can't believe how much better that show gets in every season. It's like, I keep thinking, okay, this is... Ow.
Yeah, that's one way to do it.
I keep thinking, like, this is as good as the show can be. Like, there's no way that you can elevate it any higher.
And then it consistently gets better.
The first several seasons are mostly locked off cameras. Like, it's a stationary camera. You might find it does like a very slight movement to create like a small parallax with characters that are sitting still. But the camera doesn't really move a lot. It's kind of shot like a sitcom with like the fourth wall not being there, right?
Okay.
And in like the 8th and 9th season, I think it is, it starts to actually get, like, the camera goes everywhere, and they do some really fancy, like, dramatic camera angles, and the music is really good, and the fucking writing is like top notch.
So they just really stepped up their game.
Constant. There's ones. The fourth season is definitely rough. It's got like the most repetitive episodes in the series, but
it's kind of strange. The fourth season.
It's just a genuine increase after that. Only gets better.
Yeah, I like the idea of the show. I just feel like it falls into this unfortunate category of so many shows that I'd love to watch and just don't have time for.
Whereas most people actually don't have enough show.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about those people.
Oh, well, I'm one of them.
I don't know how I feel about you. No, I feel like over the last year, I just kept thinking, when's my week off? You know, like there was so many people that got a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever, you know, where they weren't working, and I was like, man, I want a sick day. You know, I just want to sit at home and drink ginger ale and watch The Price is Right. Is that so much to ask? Oh, boy.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't have liked their time off. Like they prefer not to have it, right?
It's definitely true. I think most people probably didn't enjoy their time off. So I'm really not that upset about it. I would definitely rather continue to work. But, you know, every now and then I wouldn't mind a week where no one needs me, no one's calling me.
Yeah, but there's a thing to that as well, where you just like not feeling like you're useful is kind of rough.
Big time. Yeah, I can see that being really stressful. Right? And it's so, it's purpose.
Yes.
Purpose in life.
Yeah. Losing your purpose is unfortunate.
Oh, yeah. It's also a, what's that term? It's an insidious thing. Because it doesn't seem like it's as bad as it is, but, you know, it really adds up.
Yeah.
That was all I had to do. I just had to come and whack all these people.
Mm-hmm.
Locate some gold.
There's gold.
You gotta love the medical box sitting on the destroyed portion of wall.
The funny thing is, that's actually the correct fashion to have your medical supplies. They're supposed to be visible, mounted to the wall, and easily openable. And I've worked in places where they want to keep it like behind things.
What?
And like off in a location people haven't seen before.
For real?
Yeah, and the argument is that we don't want people like taking things from it. It's like that's actually the point of it, is to take things from it.
Well, there's also a really obvious way to solve that. So I think what they're saying is like they don't want people taking all the Band-Aids, and then when we need Band-Aids, they're gone.
Sure.
And that's fine, but there's two easy solutions. Step one, you get a secondary first aid kit for that kind of stuff, because you want, people to be able to take Band-Aids.
Yes.
And then you just put a sticker that people would have to rip to open it.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. It's so funny, the solutions that people are just totally escape people.
Yes. Well, it's the Walking Dead attitude, where it's like there's no variation between the actions that I can take. I am either going to get away from these zombies or get grabbed by one and be incapable of problem solving in any way. I am either going to hit this man in the head with a baseball bat or not fight him at all. There is no in between.
Yeah.
There is no elegant fashion where it's just like, the medical kit must not be seen. It's like, well, what if we just find out a better solution for that, dear boss?
And I do find that weird. There's a lot of just what I'm gonna call silliness, but it's almost like intentional silliness in a way.
Yeah.
It's just let's make life harder for myself in order to try and make life easier for myself. Oh, okay. I'm not sure I'm following you.
I used to have arguments about the air conditioning when I was working at a pizza place, and people were like, "Can we open the doors? It's hot in here." And I would say, "It's fucking hot out there too." Like, look, there's a tarmac, and the sun is shining directly in the windows. It's fucking hot out there. I know it's hot in here because I'm also here. Thank you for telling me it's hot. I didn't happen to notice that wearing my fucking apron in 41 degree heat.
Working with an oven.
Next to an oven.
Yeah.
Yeah. The issue was that the unit was about half the size that it needed to be to deal with an oven like that, right?
Yeah,
Like, there is air conditioning. Trust me, you would know if it wasn't working.
It would be way worse.
It would be actually not even suitable for work environment.
We would have to give you mandatory breaks.
Yeah.
I heard.
What?
Nothing. I heard this horrible story. I've been listening to this channel called Mr. Ballin, and he does all these strange, dark, and mysterious stories.
No way.
And so one of the dark stories was this bread factory, and they had this large conveyor oven like you would have at a pizza place, and they needed some repairs to be done in it. And so their brilliant fucking strategy was that they were going to take off a couple sections of the conveyor and have these two guys walk along the oven as the belt moved, because they could stay in that gap.
Jeez.
And what they did is they only measured the temperature at the edge of the oven, not in the middle.
What?
Yeah, no joke. So they send these guys into the oven, and they're following along, and everything's going well. And all of a sudden, they're like, "Hey guys, it's getting like really hot in here." And they find out that the middle of the oven was 200 degrees.
Yeah.
And so they were like, "Well, there's nothing we can do. If we hit the emergency stop, you'll just be stuck where you are, which is already getting way too hot, and we can't do anything, like, because the oven's already off, so there's nothing else we can do to cool it down." So they just had to keep walking and try to make it out the other side.
Jesus.
Yeah, and then they got cooked.
Really?
Yeah, that's all. That's it was. Because think about how long the pizza takes to go through.
Yeah.
But this oven was like 200 feet long because it was meant for cooking bread.
Jeez.
Yeah. So it's so silly that and this is modern. I'm not talking like back in the early 1900s.
Right.
Right. So it's just so silly that people haven't figured out simple, like lockout, tagout.
Yeah.
That to me should have been a thing before occupational health and safety law. Like, even just think about, imagine you're a bad person that doesn't care about your employees. Do you want to hire a new one? Or would it be easier just to tag the machine out?
Yep.
and have everyone go home safe? Silly.
I have heard the most absurd responses to safety. Probably the biggest one is it's always been like that. Like, you say, like, we need to move this because it's not safe, and they say it's always been there. Oh my
God.
lord. What?
I think I know what happened. I think this car was here, so I
Oh.
left this here, and then this car spawned inside this car.
I just love how we're talking about safety and then something very unexpected happened. Because that's the concern about safety. It's not the expected things. You know,
It's the emergency
a
things.
table saw is so obviously dangerous. It does hurt people, but not as often as a forklift or a box falling off of the top of something or the lack of a railing. Like, those are things that really get people because they don't think that it's dangerous.
Yeah, I think people cut themselves on non-sharpened pieces of metal more often than with knives.
The worst cut I've ever had in a workplace was the corner of a filing cabinet.
Ooh.
I dropped the phone and reacted to it, and as I went down, it like sliced me down the arm.
Ouch.
It was the worst cut I've ever had, and it was not a thing you would ever expect to be dangerous, right? But yeah, what I was saying was that it's always been that way. To me, means it's always been dangerous. But they look at it as meaning because it hasn't been a problem, it just won't be a problem.
Yeah, and we actually have sort of a favorite saying in our company where people will tell us we've been doing it for 20 years, and we say, well, you've been doing it wrong for 20 years.
Right.
Right? We just immediately respond with, yes, that's how it's always been, and it's always been wrong.
Right.
And it's surprisingly effective because people, for some reason, think that's going to work.
Well, it's what we call anecdotal evidence.
Mm-hmm.
It's me and the other lady in the maternity ward both smoked cigarettes while we had our children, and they were fine. So smoking's not a problem while you're pregnant, right? It's like you've just picked the information that's going to fit. You created a conclusion before your actual evidence.
And then you found the evidence.
And then you've looked for exactly what you need to say. There's lots of famous examples of that. One of them is really interesting. It's called survivor bias, I think it's called. So in World War II, the planes that survived, the attacks are, yeah. Oh wow, they have an Xbox Series X in there. The planes that survived, they would look at where all the bullets landed and say that's where the planes are shot the most. So it was like the wings, the tail, and like the back section of the main area. Not considering that maybe it's just the ones that come back that get shot there.
Exactly.
And the ones that don't come back get shot in the actual important spots, like the engines and the fuel tank.
Yeah, you actually want to put armor everywhere you don't see bullets.
Right. So
Yeah.
they did that wrong. Like they armored up vehicles based on
No way.
on what they
Oh no.
There was even that one in Band of Brothers where they put extra steel on it so that the commander wouldn't get shot, and it weighed the whole thing down and killed everybody.
Killed
on board.
everybody, yeah. Except the pilot, actually.
Oh, okay.
If I remember correctly, because I remember him saying he almost broke his arms trying to keep the thing flat. Yeah, that was an intense show.
But yeah, I love that concept. Like it's so easy to look at the statistics and think you understand. For example, although cars were used significantly less in 2020, fatal accidents actually increased.
Is that because people drove faster?
Yes.
Ah.
Because when there's more cars on the street, people had less opportunities to get fast enough to kill each other. So
Wow.
it's all about how you perceive the statistic. The statistic on its own doesn't actually mean anything other than purely the statistic.
Well, they say there's lies, there's damn lies, and then there's statistics, right?
That's a great one. I like that.
Yeah, it's amazing how that plays out. Like, if you really want to spin a really incredible lie that no one would ever believe, all you need is some really well-placed statistics.
Yep.
What's also really interesting is how little of a story ends up being reported to you at the end of the day. I had a video that was sent to me by one of our colleagues. Well, that was interesting. And it was a woman who had gone to do an inspection. I believe it was in, I don't remember what country it was in, but she had gone to do an inspection in this yard where they were scooping up sand and dumping it into this machine. And she was inspecting some other truck, like a dump truck, and they had these other loaders moving around. And one of the loaders fires up that wasn't active before, and because of where his bucket is positioned, she is completely obscured, so he can't see her. So he goes to drive towards the pile of sand, and it scoops her up into the bucket. And then he grabs an entire bucket full of sand and dumps her. And so I remember being sent the video, and they said, yeah, the woman, and we knew that she had passed away, but I thought she had died from that. You've come to find out what he dumped her in was a sand crusher. And then she got sucked down into the machinery, and that's where she ultimately died.
Jeez.
So what's interesting, though, is that woman actually survived being scooped up with a 2-ton load of sand.
Wow.
Right? So, but we didn't, that wasn't part of the news story, because you just see the video, and they say she died, so you assume she died on impact.
Fuck.
Yeah. That is one thing about my industry, is, we hear a lot about fatalities, because we share them around as, health and safety.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just sad, these 2 people died in a hole in this city, and it's terrible.
It is. Another example would be, do you remember the Daddy 05 scandal?
Daddy 05?
Yeah, it's a YouTube, let me put this in a very polite and professional manner. This couple was a professional child abuse entertainers.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So they would pull what they called pranks on their children, and more specifically one of the kids, because I think he wasn't both of theirs, and that made it easier. I think he was just from the dad and a different mom, so It was easier to pick on him.
Jesus Christ.
But they did just some of the worst shit.
Is that like they would give them toys and then take it away?
No, it was a lot worse than that.
Different people? Okay.
They would put ink on the carpet, and the parents did this, and then would say, Cody, get in here, you're in trouble. And he would say, I didn't do this, and then they would scream at him and say, don't lie to us. And they would push it until he was just sobbing and crying profusely. And then they would go, it's a prank, bro. And then they wanted him to just immediately bounce back and be cool about it. He was 9 years old. Not in a state of mind or a level of maturity. I mean, even an adult would be fucking pissed about that. And they're filming it, and they're promoting it to millions of people, and YouTube was allowing this information.
Jesus.
But what was really cool about it is that everybody reported on the same 4 or 5 instances in the videos where it was obvious that there was abuse, but it was not the worst, even close to the worst abuse that was publicly posted. That was the really sickening part of it for me, is that you saw a part where the dad kind of punches his kid's hand, because it's a really easy thing to show. Look, it's bad. But
right.
that heals. It's the horrible shit where they tell him they're gonna give him up for adoption or some bullshit like that. I don't actually remember how bad it got, but I remember watching Nerd City did a video about it, and he was doing this really deep dive on it, and right in the middle of him working on the video, the story broke on YouTube. So he had to rush his video and turn it into 2 parts because he had to follow the wave of popularity in order for it to even be watched. And the stuff that he showed, I couldn't believe I had never seen before. I was watching Nerd City's video a year or 2 after the whole story had gone on. And I was like, is this new stuff? Is this the stuff I didn't see before? How is this not happening? It's because no one fucking cares. They just focus on the stuff that someone else has found, because why not? No one's going to hold you accountable for it. No one's going to say, I don't like this news station, because they don't care about the truth, because you can't find a fucking news station that cares about the truth.
Well, yeah, there's so much rehashing, and I've noticed that whenever it comes to a news story, if you want to find out details, you'll have to read 6 articles, because each of those articles will have 90% overlap.
Right.
So if you read 6 or 7, you might get an idea of what's going on in total, but It's really strange.
when the when Fire Festival happened,
Oh my God.
this number that people supposedly paid for tickets was circulating through all the news stations. I forget what it was, like $2,000 or $3,000 or something like that, and they just kept circulating that number, an unconfirmed number that also doesn't really imply what happened. They were trying to say that these people were stupid for getting swindled into a luxury experience because they were rich people that paid $3,000 for concert tickets, and there's a lot of things wrong with that.
Such a bad take.
First of all, it's a 2-week excursion in, I forget where, a beautiful sandy beach place.
So $3,000 is cheap.
$3,000 is what the average person spends per person on a trip to Mexico. Not even a luxury event with 12. That was the stealthiest Jeep.
Well, not only that, I was looking at that animal. Oh, and they got me. Oh, man. All right. Next time we will make it to where we're going.
Yeah, and probably not continue our conversation.
Yeah.